you see me move, my black chair will like come through that screen. So I'll look like I've got a very dark halo around my head.
Not from here. You look fine.
Okay.
Maybe it should be black with our red seal shining.
What I've learned being on other meetings is if you use a background, it's not as smooth as if you don't have a background. So like Lane and Al and Kelly, Graham look different than the rest of us because we have backgrounds.
Right.
Camera normal now.
Mayor, the live stream has started.
Okay. So our council meeting today, April 7th, 2020, 6 p.m. or well, actually 6:10 now. The city is operating under a state of emergency declaration related to the spread of COVID-19. The city council meeting will be held electronically to remain consistent with limiting physical interactions and the potential spread of COVID-19. The meeting will be streamed live at salisburync.gov/webcast and on the city's Twitter account. Anyone who wishes to speak during public comment must sign up by 5 p.m. on April 7th, 2020 by contacting Kelly Baker or kbake@salisburync.gov or 704-638-5233. We will now call the meeting to order. And it's all of me in a moment of silence, especially thinking about all of our medical first responders, doctors, nurses, everybody who are the soldiers in this war against the silent enemy.
And Mayor Alexander, may I also ask that we lift up in the moment of silence all of those who've been impacted by COVID-19, by family members contracting it, and unfortunately some dying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all. Now, would you join me a moment to do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So at this time, we will do an adoption of the agenda. I will read it for the record. Council to consider the consent agenda. A, adopt minutes of the regular meeting of March 3rd, 2020 and March 17th, 2020, and the special meeting of March 3rd, 2020 and March 17th, 2020. And B, adopt a budget ordinance amendment in the FY 2019-2020 budget in the amount of $10,000 to appropriate funds received for a camera project at Brenner Crossing. Do I hear a motion to accept the agenda as read?
Well, you just read the consent agenda, but I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So, since I have already read the consent agenda, do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor, aye.
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 Motion. So we are now at agenda item number 6, council to receive public comment. Public comment will begin following the adoption of the consent agenda. For electronic meetings, speakers must sign up before 5 p.m. Speakers unable to sign up prior to 5 p.m. can submit comments by email to Tiffany Crook, tiffany.at.salisburync.gov, and they will be added to the record. Kelly, do we have any?
No, Mayor, there was no one that signed up to speak. We could ask Tiffany if she received any written comments.
Okay, Tiffany, did you receive any written comments?
No, Mayor, I haven't received.
Thank you. So we will move on to item number 7, council to consider adopting an ordinance amending the rules of procedure for the Salisbury City Council as it relates to remote participation in council meetings and adopting a policy and procedure for electronic meetings of the City Council. The presenter will be City Attorney Graham Poyer. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, Graham.
Okay. So in your materials, there are 2 things. The meat of this is the policy and procedure for electronic meetings of the Salisbury City Council. The amendment to the actual rules of procedure was just to clarify part of the voting piece that I'll get to in a minute. So I'll just go through and hit the highlights, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about the electronic meeting policy and procedure. So it's been kind of an open question about whether you can have electronic meetings like we're having right now. The Attorney General, in the context of this crisis, weighed in and gave his opinion. His opinion is that these are authorized, especially when we're dealing with public health emergency and all of the guidance is to limit physical interaction, limit large gathering of people. So that's what we're doing. That's why we're having the meeting. But this policy is just an effort to put some procedure around what we're doing, so we can everybody will be on the same page, and the public know how we do the in the event that additional ones are needed, and I expect that they will be in the next couple meetings, or in the future if there's a similar type of emergency, we are able to respond to it at that point without draft code policy. So the policy in front of you applies only in a state of emergency. That's kind of the triggering event. State of emergency that affects Salisbury. It doesn't have to be declared by Salisbury. It can be declared by the governor or by the president, or when the county declares one, we also have to declare one too within Salisbury. But when there's a state of emergency and the circumstances are such that the council can't get together, then this policy is invoked. If there's no state of emergency, then we can't use the electronic meeting policy. Now, I know that there have been discussions in the past about electronic participation if we have a member that's got traveling or have a family or medical emergency that needs to participate remotely. This policy doesn't address that. I think it'd be more appropriate to look at that in the future and revise it when we're all sitting and do it more effectively. So this just gets us through this emergency and similar types of emergency where we all have to gather together remotely. This policy only applies to city council. So at the last meeting, we gave a directive to our board commissions not to meet unless there's a legal need to meet. So this is only going to apply to city council. Boards and commissions, to the extent that they are dealing with issues that have some urgency to them, we're dealing with those on a case-by-case basis. We haven't had any so far, and I don't anticipate that we will. Frankly, the courts are closed, so trials have stopped. Then anything that we have that is a quasi-judicial procedure or something another board or commission will handle can probably be delayed for a little longer. But this is just for city council. There's a notice provision in here that basically says that these meetings are going to be noticed just like any other special meeting. So the notice rules are the same for an electronic meeting. The additional piece to this one is that, like tonight, we're meeting as part of our regularly scheduled meeting. This is the first Tuesday of the month. Meet again on the third Tuesday of the month. But if we're going to do that remotely, we have to send out a separate notice that says we're going to meet remotely, provides the website where we view it, how to sign up for public comment, and all the things. Provide as much public participation as possible, given the circumstances. The quorum clarifies that a quorum counts those participating in person and those participating remotely. We're all participating remotely tonight, but there could be a situation where we have 2 or 3 members that are in chambers and 2 or 3 members that are participating remotely. This clarifies that in that case, everybody that's participating in whatever form will be counted for the quorum. And then the voting rules are that remind you that you're required to vote yes or no for any of these. And there's a rule that if you, and many members are familiar with this, if you don't vote, you're counted as having voted yes. The strange part of that's one of the only places in the statute where it's being physically present. So what this says that if you don't vote, you're not going to be counted as a yes vote for participating remotely. You still need everybody to vote. Your obligation as a councilman to vote. There's not going to be a default yes piece to that. The other thing about voting, and this is where the amendment to the rules of procedure comes in place, is our rules of procedure envision somebody participating remotely just as a way for them to keep up to speed and get information, but not to participate in the vote. So if somebody had called in or was participating by Skype or Zoom, our rules of procedure said you can do that pursuant to a policy that's adopted, but your vote is not going to count. In this case, everybody's participating remotely, and everybody's vote didn't count, couldn't take any action. So this, when there's a state of emergency and this policy and procedure is in place, people can vote remotely. It's like you're vote on this. So that's what that clarifies. And the rules of procedure had that sentence in there that if you didn't participating remotely, then your vote couldn't vote. But this basically just strikes that provision. Participating remotely, then you can vote. Are there any questions about
that? Would be like if Brian were calling in today, he could vote.
Yes.
Graham, in the ordinance amending the rules of procedure, Rule 3, with your markup,
Yes.
in lieu of striking the second sentence, would it make more sense to say, in the event that a state of emergency has been declared, comma? I mean, just make that applicable. Basically have the rules say that we can have electronic meetings, when there's a state of emergency, because by striking that sentence, we're going to have to come back and amend this later, because I don't think we intend to say you can't vote in an electronic meeting. I mean, that's what the rule is. I think that rule should continue to be there, as you just discussed, but unless the meeting's being held electronically due to a state of emergency.
You're in the Rule 3 part?
Yes. I mean, the version that I have of the agenda sentence in Rule 3 is stricken.
Yeah, the second sentence is, so let me just go through this real quickly, make sure I'm considering what you're saying correctly. So the rule, a member who is not physically present for an official meeting of the city council may participate by electronic means in accordance with policy adopted. So once this policy is adopted, everybody that's not physically present, because everybody here is participating remotely.
I was just saying that have a proviso, provided, however, in the event of a state of emergency or whatever we determine, because I mean, is the policy procedure thing at the bottom, which begins with whereas this and whereas that, do we pick that up more or less and drop that into our rules of procedure?
So our rules of procedure, this rule particularly envisions a policy. So if you're not physically present, you can participate pursuant to an electronic meeting policy. Prior to this, we didn't have an electronic meeting policy. So our electronic meeting policy that is proposed as a companion to this, it only takes effect when there's a state of emergency. Now, I think that when we go back and everybody sort of gets back to normal and we can look at this again, then we can take up the question of what sort of remote participation do we want to allow under regular circumstances. So the point of striking the second sentence was to say that that one prohibited you from voting. So we'd have a policy that says you can have a meeting and you can do all these things, but then our rules of procedure that are an ordinance say you can't vote if you're participating electronically. So there was a
that's why I said use a proviso that says unless you're meeting electronically pursuant to a state of emergency, because even the policy and procedure that you have above doesn't reference the date of the Attorney General's letter. This becomes a part of the permanent record, and it doesn't state that it's pursuant to state of emergency. That's all I'm saying. If we want to adopt this policy, that's okay with me, but it seems to me that we're dealing with this because it's a state of emergency, and nothing in here says that, either our rules of procedure or the policy and procedure.
I think I could amend that to just say at the beginning of the second sentence,
Say provided, however, and then use your lawyerly skills.
Well, is that covered under conditions necessary for electronic meeting? Where it says an electronic meeting may only be held when a governmental official or body has declared a state of emergency or the disaster exists? Will that address what you are trying to achieve, Councilman Poe?
Well, what I was saying is that this is that I see you're talking about paragraph 3 of the policy, conditions necessary for electronic meeting.
Right.
My point is that the rules of procedure, what are going to drive this thing, and so the rules I think should also reflect the state of emergency situation where you can vote if it's an electronic meeting. That's all I'm saying. That's why I said it's picked up and dropped into the rules of procedure, and he said no. So I don't. These integrate somehow, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm just not sure how.
I think that if we're going to include remote participation under normal circumstances, then I think that we would need to go back and review this Rule 3 anyway. And we could include a triggering mechanism in that. So this would just say members who's not physically present can participate in a meeting pursuant to a policy that council adopts, period. Last sentence is stricken. And then the policy that council adopts says you can only participate remotely right now when there's a state of emergency. In the future, if we decide to allow remote participation when there's not a state of emergency, we could have two parts to that policy. Under the state of emergency part, you can participate, you can vote, you can do everything else. Under the other part, I think we would probably go back to what the intent of this rule was trying to get at, which is participating remotely. And it's not under a state of emergency, it's just, for a convenience, essentially. Then participate, but you can't vote. Or if we want to allow voting in those circumstances. I think you could put that in there, but if this points you to the policy could then control that.
May I ask? I want another issue, another question related to this. I mean, if you, if you say subject to, I mean, if you want to go to Rule 3 and just say subject to a policy adopted by City Council, that works. But in your policies, paragraph 3, conditions necessary for electronic meeting. This is where we need Brian to talk about sausage. This says a state of emergency declaration or disaster must be related to an event that directly affects the city of Salisbury. I don't want to make this political, but there are some states that are unwilling to declare a state of emergency in their states. There's one state that was on CNN this morning that they're thinking 80% of the residents will contract COVID-19, and yet the governor will not declare a state of emergency. And we have another state where the state has declared a stay-at-home policy, but the mayor of the city has decided that it does not apply to their city. I think it might ought to say that instead of saying directly affects, I mean, who defines directly affects rather than saying upon a declaration by the mayor. Something, or by a vote of council or whatever. That's a difficult standard.
Well, council would have to take it. So the two parts to that, make sure I understand. The state of emergency can be declared locally, even if the state or the national government doesn't declare it. So that could be, and our ordinance allows the mayor to do that in Salisbury and many other places. Certain restrictions put in place. Now, as far as relating directly affects the city of Salisbury and the ability of the council to meet, what I was getting at there is we have the state will declare a state of emergency for a hurricane that doesn't necessarily affect us like it affects the coast, but it's just broadly there for FEMA funding and all, but we can still meet. Now,
there was a picture in the paper today of East Spencer meeting.
Council's decision to invoke this policy, and in doing so, if council says no, we want to meet, then we'll meet. If council says no, we don't want to meet, then that's the decision that, and by doing that, they would have decided that it directly affects the city of Salisbury. You have to have a state of emergency and something that affects our ability to meet more natural disaster. I mean, our ability to meet right now is affected by our inability to be close to each other without putting each other in some risk of contracting the virus.
Mayor, could I mention something?
Yes.
I think I think our city attorney mentioned Councilman Miller's sausage analogy. And I think this really just gets us through this situation. On the back side of this, maybe we need to clean some things up. And I think what the city attorney has drawn up gets us through that during this crisis. And certainly make a lot of tweaks and changes to anything, but I think this gets us through that point. Other communities may be meeting because they don't have the technology that we have here. And appreciate Kelly Baker and IT and everyone's helped pull this together. And we had a few tweaks we had to do coming in, but that's my thought on this.
So, Councilman Post, are you willing to kind of go by what our city manager is suggesting, that we kind of do this for this particular meeting and then we go back and rethink it for it to be a more holistic?
And tighten it up, because as you're hearing more in the news, something I said at the last meeting, they're expecting a rebound in the fall.
Right.
And so I think this has got some, Graham Smart, he can wordsmith this. I said that at the very beginning.
Right. So do you think, do we need to let words it right now, is that what your, preference would be?
Well, I'm going to chime in.
I was going to ask you to chime in.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in. I concur with what the city manager is saying. I think this helps us to work through the issue that we're facing right now. And we can always, I guess, set up a committee using our technology to do some of the other wordsmithing. And Councilor Post, I would certainly suggest you be a part of that. But if we can get in place what we need right now to bridge us over, and then we can do the other pieces as we continue to move forward.
There's multiple places in our rules of procedure that mention this, that I mentioned in my comments at the last meeting. So there's several places that need to be visited.
Right.
I don't see the reason to beat this to death when this is for right now.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're meeting without this rule in place, and I'm sure we'll be meeting like this another meeting or two at least, probably at least 3 more. So I mean, this gets us there for now, and so if that's the consensus of, that's fine with me. But I would like to. I mean, Tamara pointed out there are multiple places where this hits. If this is a stopgap right now, let's go for it. But let's not drop the ball. Now's the time to at least fix this.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like make a motion to
May
that?
I suggest to clarify the motions that I need and the order that I need, just
Okay.
technical about this. The first motion that's on here is a motion to suspend the rules of procedure, which is allowed. I need all of you to vote for that. So the layout of this is a motion to suspend the rules of procedure, a motion to amend the rules of procedure, which is particularly Rule 3, that will allow you to vote electronically, and then a motion to adopt the policy.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules of procedure.
Okay, we have a motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we're ready to go to the next one.
Now I need the motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Rule 3.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the rules of procedure for the Salisbury City Council as it relates to remote participation in council meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Now you need a motion to approve the policy and procedures.
Yes.
Okay, so are you willing to do that one? David?
Or I'll make a motion to adopt the policy and procedure for electronic meetings of the Salisbury City Council as of today.
As of today. Okay, we have a motion. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So anything else on that one, Graham?
No, I don't have anything on that one, Madam Mayor.
Then we are now at item 8 on the agenda.
Thank you for your work on that, Graham.
Sure. And I think this is good. I want to echo what Mr. Bailey said about Kelly and our IT department helping with this and not only troubleshooting the technical issues, we're seeing the potential challenges that have come up with Zoom meetings and trying to anticipate what's coming out. So I think this is good practice as far as what works for looking at a policy in the future. But yes, thank you for that, and thank you for help.
And Graham, before you do your report, I wanted to update the public in terms of where we are on our Salisbury pump station. We got another letter from the town of Granite Quarry supporting our resolution that I had sent out to all of the municipalities several weeks ago. So they have weighed in as supporters. That will help us because we can include that in the information that Graham will be submitting on Monday to FERC. In addition to that, on Monday, we held a Zoom meeting with our county commissioner, Greg Ed, and two of our state representatives, Senator Ford and Representative Warren, in regard to a request by myself to have them help us urge the DEQ in North Carolina to support our plan for the work that needs to be done to make our Salisbury pump station safe for our employees and safe and operational in any future storm. That meeting went very well. Right after that, we heard back from Representative Warren, who said that he was able to speak to Miss Joy Hicks, who is a senior policy director at DEQ in North Carolina. And she was supportive and was taking it to the North Carolina DEQ General Counsel. So we are expecting to get a letter of support, which will then be included in the package that Graham will be sending on Monday to let the FERC group know that we are not in agreement with their plan. So I wanted to update the public on that, and I have sent out to each of you on council the slide presentation that was shown to the representative and senator and Commissioner Ed, as well as the document that Graham Courier prepared for that. Graham, would you like to go into a little bit more detail of the legal aspect of those documents and what we'll be doing for the when we send it in? And this
Sure.
is the benefit of the public.
Sure. So, council knows, and as Mayor updated you on March 12th, we got an order from FERC that said that Cube Hydro's plan had been approved. The city all along had been objecting to that plan because it was inadequate. It wasn't well engineered. It didn't protect the pump station in flooding. It didn't protect the road accessing the pump station from flooding. So that order came down. FERC approved Cube plan. And the city has 30 days to request that FERC rehear and reconsider that decision. So on Monday, April 13th, the city is going to file a request for rehearing with FERC. We've been working on that. This other public health crisis has been unfolding. So a lot of things have been going on, but that is well on its way. It's being prepared. It'll be filed on Monday. FERC, the federal agency, the license under which Cube operates the High Rock Dam, the federal license. How does the state fit into this? Well, the state, the Division of Environmental Quality with the state, has included in the federal license a state water quality certification. And the water quality certification is what required Cube to submit a plan to protect the pump station against flooding and sedimentation that was caused by the dam. So it's the state requirement that was in the federal license. And as part of this request for rehearing in front of FERC, the city is asking that DEQ weigh in from the state's perspective and tell FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, that that Cube's plan, the one that FERC approved, does not comply with the state water quality. What is in the particular plan approved? They basically are attempting to fix the pump station in place. So we're not getting the pump station is not being relocated or rebuilt. What's happening is basically the electrical equipment within the pump station being moved up the wall out of the 100-year floodplain. Some of the pumping equipment is actually going to be modified so that it can operate underwater, which causes damage to the pump. The appropriate engineering. And then, equally important is that there is no part of the plan that allows for access to the pump station during the flood event. See what's going on to make sure the pump station is operating appropriately, in order to access the pump station during a flood, we being City of Salisbury personnel, Salisbury Road and Utilities personnel, has to access the pump station by boat. And that's part of the plan that Cube thinks is appropriate for operating this pump station. So we have lots of issues with the plan. We are in the process of putting all of those down in our here at FERC. And as Mayor met with local delegations to try to get their assistance to talk to FERC, to talk to DEQ, have DEQ weigh in, say, no, that's not what we mean by our water quality certification. We need something that works. Access to the pump station got more than the Band-Aid fix. And you'll recall back in March when council adopted the resolution, that was on the heels of a relative, it was a big storm, but it was relatively small in the grand scheme of the 10-year storm that got within 18 inches of the electrical equipment pump station, required us to turn off the pump station for 3 days. And again, more bigger storms are inevitable. We don't believe this plan is adequate. We're asking for consider it. We're asking for the state help doing it. So that's where we are on it. That will be filed on Monday with FERC, and we hope by then the state.
Thank you, Graham.
I'd like to just add one thing to that, which just since this is for public suggestion, is that cost of moving the pump station is a little more than $20 million. And this Band-Aid that you referred to is about a $2 million fix, which, as you point out, is inevitably not going to work. And that's the reason we're appealing. We're asking, they basically said to the taxpayer, look, you can pick up the $20 million hit to move the pump station when we didn't cause the problems that are leading. We didn't cause what's leading to the problems.
Another thing, I wonder if it would be appropriate for us to share on our website the actual presentation that was shared with the senators and Commissioner Ed. I think a photo is worth 1,000 words, and it's one of the reasons we decided to do that meeting in a Zoom format, so that they would be able to actually see the difference between what the pump station looked like when it was not flooding and then when it was flooding. And you could see how, it's up 12 feet. And the building that they're saying to move the equipment up in, you would literally have to build another floor on top of that building. And so a lot of what they have in their plan is simply not doable. It's inadequate, and it's dangerous for our employees. So I don't know if we can do that, but I think that
Mayor,
at least have them available so that if someone did want slide presentation, we can send it out.
Mayor Linda McElroy is going to be working on that, getting that
Okay.
in.
Thank you very much.
Have we made that slideshow available to the press?
We have, I only sent it so far to the representative, Commissioner Ed, and to all of you, which I sent that out today. But we do not, but I think that if Linda McElroy is working on that, she's our PIO, that would be an appropriate thing to share in a newspaper article.
Yes, Mayor, she's
Okay.
pulling all that together to send out as well.
Okay, that's what I thought when I talked to her earlier today, but just wanted to clarify.
We're going to have a press release saying that we're appealing FERC's ruling.
Yeah. And to give the document that we have sent out anyway to all of our municipal leaders and ask them for their support. So I was very thrilled today to get the one from Granite Quarry. So I think we'll be getting more in as they meet. Graham, do you have anything else in your report for today?
No, that is all I had for the council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And Lane, for the city manager's report.
Mayor, thank you. The first thing, and I sent this out to each of you earlier in the day. Personnel policy for the city gives the city manager a lot of leeway in how positions are classified. Some of the new legislation that has come down as a result of this virus, federal legislation calls for a designation essential and non-essential employees. And last week I sent an email out, an update on things that were going on. The employees that I have classified as essential are in public safety, police, fire, Salisbury, Rowan utilities. Others would include IT for some of the help we've had tonight. I asked our city attorney to draft a resolution that would allow council to ratify those positions that I've deemed essential and non-essential. Also, as we go through this virus, give me the discretion to adjust as I see necessary. And I don't think it's required, but out of abundance of caution, it could be a good idea for council to adopt the solution. Requested to do so.
So everyone has read that. Do you have any questions?
I did. Was transportation also included? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Not at this time, but it's certainly, right now, those certainly an essential service, but I adjust that as need be.
Oh, okay. Why did you not include it at this time?
Mayor Pro Tem, not a big issue either way, but they're still working, so essentially they're designated.
Oh,
Any other questions?
If we do include transportation, I hope we'll find some way to do the best we can to protect the drivers. There are too many bus drivers around the nation that have been affected and have died, just by doing their job because they're in a confined space with elements they don't know could be there.
right. Yeah, we're seeing also with our firefighters and police officers. The only reason I ask about transportation is that there are still people who are needing to get to work who use the public transit to get there. Yeah, just some very tough calls to be made right now.
Yes, and we have made some adjustments to operations, having passengers enter through the rear door rather than passes immediately in front of the driver. Frequent cleaning, but yes, we've got a lot of heroes out there.
Are we able to provide our drivers with some form of PPE?
We'll ask Rodney to text me where we're at on that.
I know he had said he ordered phone call the other day, Lane.
Yes, I think that's some of that through the county, but I'll have Rodney confirm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted by our city manager?
I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution to allow the city manager to adopt the resolution presented, which authorizes him to make the determinations as to which employees are essential and non-essential.
Okay, we have a motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion carried. Anything else, Lane?
A couple things, Mayor. I'd sent some information about this last week or the week before. Project Gauge. It's a Rowan tax incentive grant. Rowan County has approved the tax incentive grant. Had a facility on South MLK that was scheduled to close, and those jobs would go away. There's a company trying to acquire that. In addition to the existing jobs, that would create 46 new jobs. The average wage on those jobs would be $40,000. And my request is City Council schedule a public hearing for Project Gauge on April the 21st.
Okay, do we need to vote on that or by consent, or how do we need to handle that?
I think officially y'all voted to schedule that. I believe that's what we've done in the past.
Okay. Do
So
I?
I have a question.
Okay.
I know that we have things that will be time sensitive, and I don't know about that in this situation. I said it at the last meeting that we actually held. Very uncomfortable to hold a public hearing when the public can't act. I know we've asked for public comment. We're trying to figure this out, but by the next meeting, that'll be the second time we do this. Is that fair for a public hearing to occur when the public actually really has a hard time throwing it out?
I think we would ask for the same information at these public hearings as we did for citizens' comment. The other thing, Graham and I have talked about this, city attorney and I have talked about this. I think that when we're on the backside of all this, we may want to have one meeting to ratify a lot of the stuff that we've done on these electronic meetings. I think for Mr. Shelton, this may be a time-sensitive project with a lot of people losing jobs and becoming out of work. Got someone that's coming in to protect the existing jobs that are at this facility and possibly add 46 new jobs. I think this is a wonderful deal, or very important deal for our community. But you make a good point, and the EDC is required to move forward. I can't tell how time sensitive they are, but and Mr. Post is the liaison to the Rowan County EDC. He may have more information.
I would say two things. One is that this has been on our agenda. We had canceled our meeting last week, of course, or this week, but this has been on the
burner.
It's been on the table for months, trying to put the deal together. And second is, I can't think of a single situation where the EDC has come to us with a proposal that's kind of the standard, request that they make, that the county matches it and we kind of match it with a tax break that pays us back within 3 years or something like that we ever had anybody from the public show up and say, don't do this. We've been going through the motions to do the right thing, to get it done, but I can't, in my 5 years, I don't remember EDC ever coming to us with a situation where we said no. Or where we've had any public comment. The no doesn't matter, but where we've ever had any public comment on one of their presentations.
Lane, to that point, is it possible that we can create some multiple ways that the public could respond to this out of an abundance of caution?
Yes,
I agree with Mr. Post, but I think we do want to be sensitive to giving the opportunity. So, I mean, could we do it in the newspaper, on Facebook, on our website?
Yes. Yes, we can do all those things, and absolutely.
And starting like now, which would give our citizens ample time to respond over the next 2 weeks on that.
We could also ask the EDC and Chamber to have the same promotion on their website, which would reach more people.
Right. That would
In
be
fact, the chamber has an email list which has all their members plus some. I mean, it's a couple thousand. It's got about 1,000 members and another 1,000 on its email list. It could be blasted out that way as well.
That's a great idea.
And obviously, I'm not against jobs or anything like that. It's just about in my responsibilities to make sure that when we have a public hearing, we make sure we have access and that we're doing it the right way, and that it is necessary given these certain times.
So are you okay with it ahead of time and we do it on multiple platforms?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, regardless of the track record, if somebody did have a problem and we didn't get a chance to hear that, that's on all of us.
Right. Okay. So, we need a motion for this. So do I hear a motion to put this on as for a public hearing and to use multiple modes of media to get the word out to the public to weigh in?
Tiffany, do you have all that down that Mayor said? I'll make a motion that we calendar the public hearing for the EDC to present project, forgotten the name of it.
Project Gauge.
Yeah, Project Gauge at the City Council on April 21st, 2020, and that we solicit public comment through multiple media platforms, including those that the city, the chamber, and the EDC have available to them.
Okay, so we have a motion. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mayor, and I'd just like to give just a real quick update on some of our operational things that are happening. First off, Public Works has postponed. They have postponed, not canceled, the spring cleanup for bulky collections. We'll reschedule this when we get out of this crisis. The police department has seen an increase in vehicle break-ins over the past few weeks. They need to remind people of their campaign to either take it out of the vehicle, lock it, or you'll lose it, and encourage people to be safety conscious about things that they may leave in their car and lock in vehicles. Unfortunately, police, and this is not unique to our community, and hearing from colleagues, this is happening around the country. We've seen an increase in domestic disputes. Services are still available through the police department and family crisis. If a person needs help, call 911 or the family crisis 24-hour hotline, 704-636-4718, extension 1. Police and fire have created a joint video message assuring the public that we're still out there working and protecting the public. One of the neatest things I think that we've done, Parks and Rec has created some videos to engage the public during social distancing. You follow the Parks and Rec Facebook page or the City of Salisbury web page, you can see videos on things you can do with your kids, exercises that you can do, and still be safe. The Parks and Rec department did today close all our tennis courts. We did this after receiving recommendations from the U.S. Tennis Association, and those are closed until further notice. DSI, Downtown Salisbury, is continuing to provide resources through its new mobile-first website. Staff has been reaching out to businesses, working on that, and as the mayor mentioned at the start of the meeting, Council Miller, through his day job, is working on programs. A lot of those have rolled out with some confusion as to what the rules are. At our last council meeting on March 17th, council adopted a temporary ordinance suspending disconnects, non-payment. Governor Cooper on March 31st signed an executive order that did the same thing and went a little bit further in some areas, and we're complying with all of that. And his executive order is for at least 60 days, and then also that requires payment plans, also suspended penalty and interest fees. Local governments have a requirement to report to the Utilities Commission on our efforts there. General today provided relief because there was a lot of confusion about those reporting requirements. And we're doing all that, and we followed all the rules and procedures. notifying the public through Twitter, Facebook, city's webpage, and so forth. That's just a brief update, but I'm very, very proud of the staff. We've got wonderful employees in the city, fantastic management team, and I'm very proud of what they're doing. They're in very, very difficult.
Mike, can you talk a little bit about the additional CDBG money that the city has been allotted?
I think the mayor may talk about that a little bit later in the announcements, but we did receive notice yesterday that we have additional money. The rules and regulations, how that money would be spent are not out. And as soon as we have that, we will provide.
Anything else?
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. So I'm into mayor's announcements now. First thing that I want to announce is that the Rowan County DHHS will be doing a Q&A in regard to the COVID-19 crisis. They will be taking questions beforehand and then answering those questions. That will be done by Nina Oliver, and it is planned right now for April the 15th at 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on that day. I don't have any other specifics about how you will get into that Zoom meeting, but they will be sharing that. She said they would be sharing it with the press once they get everything worked out and determined by the first survey that they're sending out what kind of questions, and then they'll know who the panelists should be in that Q&A session. So that will be happening again on April 15th, 2020, 1 o'clock to 2, so you can do a save the date on that. On the issue that Mayor Pro Tem Higgins just talked about, we did receive a letter from HUD allocating funds to be used in regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. We don't, unfortunately, have any clear guidelines about who and what they can be spent on. So as soon as we get that information, I'll be sharing that with council first, and then we'll share it with the public. It will require a public comment or a public hearing as part of it. So we'll be able to get out the guidelines before the next council meeting, we hope, to the public, which will then let them know who can apply or what the criteria for applying will be and what the funds can be used. So Hannah Jacobson on the planning staff is working on that as we speak. So we'll update you all in regard to what that process actually require. But right now we don't know any. So that is all I have at the moment. So moving on to council's comment.
Yeah, just quick two things. I'd like for us to get a chance maybe to review our litter municipal code. It's Article 3, the litter portion, Section 2152. It talks about depositing on streets, sidewalks, and public places. I'd like for us to determine more like, what does that mean? You know, there's certain things that are still pollutants, which are litter that are going into the air. I don't know how we address that. You know, releasing of balloons and things like that, that eventually falls down. So what kind of ordinance kind of thing do we have that protects us from those kinds of things? Because it all ends up somewhere else. Just a review of, do we have the right things in place from an ordinance perspective? I know enforcement of litter is a challenge, but it might deter some folks. And then also just a huge thank you to the Rowan County Public Health and Emergency Services. They have just been doing a fantastic job from putting information out, making sure that their website is updated every day. And it's on the Rowan County NC.gov civic alert page, all the information that every citizen, and I know we all are all looking for information around the COVID-19 crisis. So I would just like to thank our partners at the Rowan County offices that are just doing a fantastic job as well in a really terrible. So thank you.
I had a couple of comments.
Okay.
First of all, I want to echo what Councilman Sheffield said. I mean, shout out to not only to all of the many leaders who are engaged in this effort. Those calls have over 100 people on them, usually right at about 100 people. Everybody pulling in the same direction, as well as our employees. Every time I wash my hands with warm water, I think, wow, this is working because of our water department, because of Duke Energy. I mean, there are people that are going above and beyond to allow us to live peculiar but normal lives. I mean, with the many blessings that we do have. Second is, I'm just wondering, I don't know how long these Zoom meetings are going to go on, but my bet is that we're at least through May. And I wonder if we should notify the public of that rather than doing it on a one-on-one basis, so they can sort of get used to the idea and maybe check in with us to make it easier for them, rather than thinking, well, maybe the next meeting will be an in-person meeting. Might enhance some public engagement. I don't know, but I just think maybe having some sort of window as to how, in advance more than the next meeting might be helpful.
In regard to the information from the...
In regard to how long we're going to have our city council meetings by Zoom.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
that's going to be kind of difficult. We know it's going to be extended past April 30th. I've heard some, rumbling about it going until June. I don't know. But I guess we could say we'll update them when we know. If, as soon as the governor would maybe make another executive order, we could get that out. I do agree with you that the public needs to know as soon as.
I do know, relative to that the governor has canceled a lot of meetings that he had in May. So my hunch is that, he'll provide the same safety net to the public that he's providing
For himself.
I think as far in the future as we can see, we should. I mean, I would anticipate this going through the end of May, at least, but not further. Third thing I wanted to mention is some cities have adopted eviction policies, not allow evictions. That irritates landlords. I do know that the court system is closed until the 1st of June. So you can't file an eviction notice until then. But, I'd like to encourage landlords to, use the SBA, to collect rents that they may not be collecting. I would like to see us in the same way we're not turning off water and turning off electricity to, again, help, the people. Evidence is beginning to come out that even though this virus is hitting everybody, it's hitting the underserved communities more than it's, hitting other communities, the higher income communities. And the fourth thing I want to point out is that one of the things that the stimulus package did not cover is aid and assistance to state and local governments. And I think we ought to put together a sort of a coordinated response request to Congressman Budd and to our 2 U.S. senators and to Congressman Hudson, because this is going to come up. This is going to batter our budget some kind of terrible. And I'd like to be ahead of that curve and be part of the chorus, other than Governor Cuomo and Governor Newsom in California and Governor Inslee in Washington, D.C. I mean, the state of Washington, who are Democrats. You know, we have Republican senators and congressmen representing us, and I would like to see us make some noise both as citizens and as a city, because we're going to need help. State's going to need help. Rowan County's going to need help. Salisbury.
I agree with you, and that work has already been started. It is being done not only through local efforts, but also through the National League of Cities, the United Congress of Mayors. The president of that group is leading a huge effort, and so is the president of NLC. So they have signed on about, at last count, over 300 mayors from around the country. So that's being worked on, and I'm also part of that. So we are.
Make sure that they hear from Salisbury.
Yes, I am that. All of that, even when they're not quite our district, just through the North Carolina League of Municipalities, Metro Mayors, that work being. So it's a great idea. Thank you for bringing it up. So that we can say it to the public. But there's a concerted effort, and if we do it through the organizations, we really get heard because of the numbers.
Yeah.
So, and they're kind of all working across platforms as well. So it's real concerted effort.
I was talking to a friend of mine in Raleigh, who a political operative who's a Republican yesterday, and he said he really didn't know Ted Budd. He knew Congressman Hudson, but what he said was that he says, it seems to me his greatest strength is constituent services.
Yeah.
And I think we should take advantage of that.
Yeah, he is, and so is Congressman Hudson. I was on about an hour and a half presentation to the North Carolina League of Municipalities day before yesterday with Congressman Hudson, and another one with Ted Budd. So they're on top of it because they realize how much North Carolina is being impacted, and especially our district. Yeah. So, but thanks for pointing that out. It's really important. So, do you have anything else?
Those are my 4 points.
Okay. So Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes. Councilor Post, I'm behind you 100% on that. And I think that Salisbury does need to be heard. And I'm very glad that the U.S. Conference of Mayors and that the National League of Cities is making this one of their top priorities to make sure that we are going to be a part of that stimulus package, of course, for local counties and municipalities, because we're going to need the help without a doubt. And so I just want to echo what everyone has been saying. Thank you so much to all of our staff. And thank you, Mayor Alexander. I know you've been very busy. I'm very appreciative of the council members who have been on these community leadership calls. I think that we're all very concerned about what's happening right now. And I just want to continue to thank the staff for the great job that you all are doing. Wayne, Zach, Graham, Kelly, Linda, thank you so much, both of our chiefs, for the work that you're putting into protecting our community. Chief Solis and Chief Brown, Aaron Church, Nina Oliver, have all been working very hard with these daily community calls to keep our community safe with the public health. And we cannot say enough, please continue the social distancing. We know yesterday the governor has asked us when we're going out into the community to start wearing our masks. Not only does that protect us, but we have some really key essential workers who are out there trying to help us keep going in our community. We have people who are stocking grocery shelves and who are keeping stores open. And so by us staying in as much as we can, by us wearing our masks, practicing the social distancing, we're keeping them safe and we're keeping people alive. Don't forget our Census 2020. For those of you who have not done your census yet, please do go online and do the census. If you've received the application to send it in, get that back because our numbers count. We really need to count our numbers. And I'm going to quote Queen Elizabeth here. I like what she said when she gave her speech about with great resolve and self-discipline, we will get through this. We will get through this. So just thank you so much.
Thank you. Have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. So now under Mayor's comment, want to say thank you to all of the staff that I have been working with on a daily and sometimes nightly basis, and I appreciate all of their dedication and their willingness to step up to whatever the challenge is at the moment, because we still have, even in the midst of this pandemic, we have all of the other ongoing city business that has to be attended to. So I just want to say thank you. I also want to say thank you to all of the first responders, our fire chief and his staff, because all of the regular calls keep going on, even in the face of everything that's happening around the pandemic, and the police department for their dedication to our citizens, whether they are regular citizens who are workers to all the way to the business community. I appreciate their constant surveillance throughout our community, and also their help, just being good citizens. And I also want to take a moment to thank our citizens, because I've seen over the last several weeks and maybe months now, just an outpouring of care and generosity from everyone, from people who are making masks to our citizens who are donating things that they have to their neighbors, to other institutions, and even like RCC giving to the hospital, the PPE thing. So I think that we're all in this together, and with our constant perseverance and exercise of hope and faith, we will all get through this together. And that's the operative word, because everyone is affected by, from government to the businesses to the citizens. Everyone is facing hardships and challenges that we've not faced before. So I just want to say thank you to all of our staff, again, that I work with every day. I won't start naming you because I'll leave someone out, and every single one of you are stellar. And we're so lucky that our citizens really don't even see maybe the challenges, because things are still getting done every day. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll just keep moving forward with a lot of hope. And we have a teddy bear in the window. So if you want to join in and put your teddy bear in the window in solidarity with all of our people who've been affected by COVID-19. I understand DSI is going to be going with a program to paint flowers in the windows of downtown businesses. So anything that you can think of to visibly show our community that we're in this together, be creative. To all of our citizens, I got a message from a citizen who was putting ribbons on her street, red, white, and blue. Others are putting just blue. So everybody can be creative and show their concern and solidarity with all of the people who are on the front lines of this incredible war against a very lethal, silent enemy. So with that, thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Hey, all those in favor, aye. Aye. I think I heard everyone say they were ready to adjourn. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Stay at home with your families. Enjoy every moment with them. You never know what tomorrow brings.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Safe. Be smart.